and apparently I heard that he stored his comics in like Rubbermaid totes, which are not made to hold comics, so they're like kind of shifting all over each other, and the
corners getting destroyed.
Yep. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, anything's impressive if you're gonna lie, dude. Like, it's not impressive at all. You're just trying to fucking. I saw your DMs. You're just trying to fucking bait me into pulling you on here. I know you. I'll put you on here. Fuck it. Why not? See if this motherfucker wants to throw down. Yeah, I mean, I really like. I just don't think that's impressive, man. Like, I mean, if it's impressive to dupe a bunch of people, take advantage of an algorithm that's geared towards misinformation and blatant fucking bullshit. Like, okay, that's
the culture war has cost people lives. So like that, people get murdered because of stupid shit that morons, grifters say, and that's not impressive. It especially if what you're spouting is just horse shit. That's not. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous. People take their influence and really exploit it and don't think about repercussions. And Ben Shapiro.
Sorry, I had a spill, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro is at the top of the mountain there when he talks about I forgot one of the many mass shootings. Like the first thing that Ben Shapiro did was say, yeah, well, I was his favorite Twitter thing, but that doesn't have to do with anything. But yeah, but why don't you look inward and ask? Well, that's weird. Why would a fucking mass murderer think of me so highly and follow everything I say? It's just back away and up. That's just coincidence. I don't know where it's coming from. Anyway, here's 90 minutes of anti-trans material.
Right. And, well, here's the guy that made that comment. He baited me successfully. Matt Jarbo, what's up, man?
I am a masturbator.
I knew it.
Well, that's how I made it through high school.
Sometimes I'll see a tweet or something from you, and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, he's baiting.
Well, it depends on what the tweet is. It really depends on what the tweet is.
No, yeah, I know. Well, like whenever you say The Last Jedi sucks, I know you don't.
Such a bad. Don't get me started on that, dude.
I know you love it, and you just.
Is the Last Jedi talk time? Is it Last Jedi?
No, I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. Oh my god. I hate that movie because it's so well made. Narratively, it's just trash. But
he doesn't hate it for like I've never said that people can't like the movie. I talked about it for 6 hours on that one day, but like, I understand there are valid reasons to not like any movie. I just think that a lot of the shit that gets said about it and the narrative that got built up around it in the culture war, so to speak, is very
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was never like, my anger always came from like generally from not cutting out 5 seconds of that movie. Really?
It's a flawed movie. It's a flawed movie, but
it's so flawed.
It's a movie that I like. It's a movie that I like and respect overall.
Ryan Johnson sunk his own battleship the other day. Did you guys see the quote about The Last Jedi that he put out the other day?
What did he
say? He admitted that he ended the trilogy in the second movie. No. He admitted. He admitted.
I think that there was room for another movie if somebody came in.
Well, there was exactly. If he would have taken what was set up and run with it, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. No. We can look. You can talk.
He didn't like the answers he gave, but he answered all those.
No, because if you think about it for a second, right? We'll focus on literally like one aspect of it. Okay, one aspect of it. All right, and like it's not even like the Luke stuff, which is just. And I'm generally fine with the crabby hermit shit.
It's the best.
It's not the best. It's not. What do you? Okay. Go back to the marketing of the first movie. Just go back to the marketing of The Force Awakens, right? Okay. Finn was integral to like the marketing of the first movie. The very first point of view we really get is his. Right? Yeah. The entire movie's point of view is from his perspective.
Yeah.
Completely sidelined into a dumb role in the second movie. And it makes like,
I actually do not agree.
I don't
disagree with that.
You cannot sit there and tell me that I have nothing against Rose Tico as a character.
Okay. Skywalker.
They set up nothing for him. Look, the Jedi thing was dumb. Okay, like the Jedi thing was dumb.
Or hold on, guys. Let me fucking talk to you for a second, please. Or you can look at it like he didn't do a lot with him, which left plenty of room for the next person had they fucking managed the director, the next director coming in well, and the writer had done a decent job. They didn't. If you wanted to make Rey's parentage matter, you could have said that it did by saying that Kylo lied. They kind of did that. They hedged their bets, right? If you wanted to say that, no, actually Finn is super important, then, Last Jedi was just kind of a midway point where they didn't progress. Like there was plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, they sidelined his character and they turned him into a meaningless side quest.
Served a different purpose than was expected.
No, what purpose did he really serve? What purpose did he serve? Like the rules of 3 were completely ignored. Like
it's not a like he.
The rule of 3 in a trilogy. You look, no matter what in storytelling, we always rely on the rule of 3. All right, 3-act structure, beginning, middle, end. I mean, look, you can call it a trope, sure, but it doesn't
It does
when
not.
you're
It's not necessarily a hard and fast rule. Like the only way that you can.
Yeah, but this movie just went like, yeah.
No, okay, I disagree with Jarbo. I think that Rian Johnson tried to give Finn something to do. The problem is that it was completely unfocused, right? Like, given any of the 3 individual things that he had Finn do in that movie, right? Whether it be whether it be his need to reconnect with Rey, or him uncovering the sort of like backroom capitalism, like dirty capitalistic reality of the war, or him facing back against his, like if he would have picked any of those 3 to focus the entire arc on, it would have been such a vast improvement on the character. But the fact that
you guys not see that was all the same thing.
Oh, it's not the same thing.
Well, do you want to let me explain instead of just saying it's not, or do you want to let me explain?
No, okay.
Well, no, I think I see where you're coming from, because they're all about sort of him having to redefine his place and understand where he is without the context of Rey.
At the end of there. But at the end of the Force Awakens, he didn't ever come to understand. Like he didn't have any purpose in this. By the end of the Force Awakens, he'd only just now decided to do the right thing because of Rey. Basically, he had not become a hero in his heart or anything like that. Then that's why at the beginning of The Last Jedi, he's fucking, I'm out of here. I got fucked up by Kylo Ren. I don't need to be. And then he meets fucking everybody's favorite character, Rose Tico, who after watching that movie again recently, I think she's the fucking central, most important character of the movie.
She's underrated.
But wait. Hold on. You're completely misconstruing the what? Okay, Finn's entire motivation was at the very beginning of The Force Awakens. All right, like it's symbolized by him having the blood stain on his helmet. Like he can't do this.
His motivation, not wanting to be a stormtrooper is not a motivation. His motivation shifted.
His motivation was getting away, right? Obviously getting away.
He constantly had cowardly emotions.
Yeah, he did. He constantly did. But then through the course of it, he was like, I'm going to be the braver one here, even though it's kind of like Rey's kind of batting his hand away. But he's trying to be this. I'm trying to think of the word for it. But that was The Force Awakens. Like at the end of The Force Awakens, he fought Kylo. He was defeated. All right. He defeated Captain Phasma to an extent. Through throwing her in a trash compactor, which was funny at the time and still kind of is. All right. But then in the second movie, he's like, he's not bailing out. He's leaving to go find Rey. He's not bailing out of the rebellion. He wants to go find Rey.
No, you're right. But at the same time, he is also, because he says a few times that like, we're going to die. They will catch us. We're going to die. He's not, it's both. Both are true essentially.
But you can argue though, that he's trying to go after Rey. And then he meets Rose, and then Rose, changes his trajectory on that front.
Wanting to bang Rey is not a heroic character motivation. That's what I'm talking about.
But Rose wanting to bang Finn and destroying his great sacrifice at the end of the movie is the same fucking concept.
Yeah.
Wait, can I just say this?
It would have destroyed the. It would have.
No, it wouldn't.
You don't technically know that. To be fair,
it seems like his ship was disintegrating, and he still had a little ways to go. And by the time he got into the fucking, right at the start of that beam, it was a fucking little Death Star beam, right? Like it would have not.
It was a mini. Yeah, it would have. No, it would have probably not done much. But in that moment, he was trying to be the hero. And then here comes Rose, and she's like, "We don't win by stopping what we hate, by protecting what we love." Blackout, and then he drags her like 2 miles back to the. fucking broken ass open door and like no one does a thing.
Behind the big battle.
But I think the sort of bigger problem.
I'm going to mute you too, Ed. This is where it pisses me off because I'm sorry, I'm not able to get a word in edgewise here. This is where it pisses me off with the criticisms. Is like there are criticisms to be had. Sorry, I'll unmute you. But if people the thing like, oh, she dragged her, like if you applied the same level of scrutiny to any of the other films, you could do the same thing. And I promise you, maybe one day I'll do a video or stream doing that just to show you that, like, for whatever reason, people choose to zero in on this one with more fucking, hyper focused scrutiny than they have with any of the previous ones. Right?
Because it was lazy. It was lazy.
I wouldn't call it lazy.
The movie. Look, the core idea of the film was fascinating, right? Like there was elements of The Last Jedi, thematically that were interesting, but there were you could argue nostalgia. You could argue a lot of other things along those lines that were ignored or outright just altered for the sake. It's not a bullshit way because for one,
I'm not even listening to you anymore.
No, because that's the thing. You don't. Because here's the thing, Dan. You don't want to listen, and I'm being you're not. Yeah, because you're not letting me get to my point, and you're like, I don't want to even hear it.
When I'm trying to look at comments, it's not that I don't want to listen to Matt Jarbo about The Last Jedi. Okay, like just chill the fuck out. Like. Your opinion doesn't faze me as far as like I'm not upset or offended by it. I just am doing other shit. So
okay, well then I can finish my thought then. So while you're doing something, I don't mind if you multitask.
I was pointing out this comment like I'm.
I didn't see it. I was looking at something else. I'm sorry. No, I feel like look, it's kind of like the biggest thing for me above all else is the fact that Carrie Fisher died 5 days after Rogue One.
Uh-huh.
They had a whole year to figure out how to salvage the ending of that movie. You cut that final Luke scene by 5 seconds. Luke doesn't die. He carries the torch to the next film.
But I think
that's what you do.
Does die. I mean,
no, it's not. It did nothing. It did nothing.
Well, my question to you.
Then it definitely would have made his whole fucking character arc complete. People say it was pointless and didn't serve. Like that would have definitely made it fucking pointless.
It would not.
I'm sorry, Chuck. Do you have to say anything, Charles?
Let's let Charles talk because we've been fucking talking over each other, and I know Charles has some good shit to say. So.
I am of the mentality that Rian Johnson made a great film. It has its flaws, of course it does, but it is not conducive to franchise storytelling because it kind of handcuffs anything for the future. Yeah. I'm not saying it completely does. It feels like the end. But what they could have done, and they should have done this on the fly, is they shot it. Have that scene where Leia gets shot out of the thing. Have that be her death.
Yes.
And have that moment be the trigger that brings Luke back. Like, oh, all right. So Ben,
and the moment Kylo goes back to he killed both his parents.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
right.
One thing that I want to address that Jarbo said earlier.
I can see that. Yeah, I'd be on board with that. At least look. Right. Here's the thing, Matt. At least he's offering a solution that makes sense in the context of what happened. That's the thing that not you necessarily, but the thing that I get defensive about is just everybody wants to go. I don't like it. It's bad. I don't like it. It's bad. It's like okay, well,
but I can
because
I get that. Okay, well, let me for example, let me recontextualize or repitch the concept of Canto Bight and leading into the finale of that film. Because Canto Bight was just a pointless side quest.
Okay, I thought so too until I watched. I just want to mention because I do want to get back to something that you said earlier, which is the idea that at the end of The Last Jedi, there's nowhere for the trilogy to go. I actually agree with you with that. I agree. I think that was Rian Johnson. I think that's what he wanted to do. But okay, but here's the thing though. Like, have you seen the movie Cabin in the Woods?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cabin in the Woods, right, is a movie that essentially like pulls the pants down on the entire horror genre, right? And also horror audiences. It's like, here's why you like horror, right? This is how horror works. We're telling you how horror works and why it does, and this is why it appeals to you. But the whole point of the movie, why it ends the way that it does, is because the Cabin in the Woods is saying, we need to find a new way forward. We can't just keep doing these same stories for these same ways over and over. I think Rian Johnson did deliberately end The Last Jedi in a way that was supposed to challenge whoever came next to continue what Rian Johnson is doing in The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson is
I think the underlying thing about a lot of like just outright rejection of the movie is, and what I can tell is just people not like Star Wars, since you and I remembered, Matt, all of us here, like it's been a certain thing. And this movie says, well, but what if it, we did some different stuff here, and it's like it's uncomfortable, and this foundational thing in our lives is possibly changing and going in a direction we can't fucking even understand. Like basically the moment Snoke got cut in half, I remember people lost their fucking minds on the internet.
Gaps in the movie theaters. It was great.
I was impressive. That was impressive. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying generally, like this, like what Janice says here, where they were set up to be Jedi. How so? Like, I mean, what said these are definitely going to be characters that become Jedi? That's like, we are expecting certain things to play out because it's already happened before. So people were like, well, Snoke doesn't even matter. We don't even get to learn about why Snoke. It's like, so you just wanted the Emperor fucking all over again.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you put yourself in that time period too, off on the heels of the release of Force Awakens, everybody's like, oh, it's just the same shit all over again. And like, the one thing you cannot say about The Last Jedi is it's samey. It is very, I mean, there was even a line where Luke might as well looked through the fucking camera lens when he says, this isn't going to end the way you think it's going to.
The idea that he left the movie without anywhere to go, I get the vibe, but I mean, like, I also think that the different way you could look at it that's just as valid, you might call it a cop-out, but I think it's valid, is he also laid down the gauntlet for fucking creators to step up and do something, that could keep this franchise fucking going, instead of, let's just do essentially the same thing we've been doing. We did it last movie, and how long do you think Star Wars would have lasted if we would have gotten another trilogy or two of just repeating the fucking formula?
Well, I think we have to understand though, at the same time, they were already in the process of starting to work on the idea of the Mandalorian around 2017, 2018. Yeah. So that was already in the works. That was happening independently of The Last Jedi. I do think that the Mandalorian was heavily influenced by the negative reaction to The Last Jedi. And I think that Filoni has seen that, and that's why they're doing a lot with the Clone Wars and the Rebels, right?
So that's my grievance with you, by the way, is not your opinion on the movie itself, but the idea that so many people hated it.
Yes, I know. That's not even up for debate in my mind. I think more people I've talked to over the years, 5 years now, have come to me and been like, I don't like the movie, and then I'm like. And I'll go, look, there's elements of the film I think it's well shot. It's the John Williams score is one of my favorites, to be honest with you. I love that soundtrack. I think the character, I don't have an issue. Like, everyone's like, oh, Admiral SJW. And I'm like, no, Holdo was an interesting character we had no time with. So the emotional resonance of that sacrifice meant nothing. It was pointless on her end. It should have been Akbar. It should have been Akbar.
It was not emotional resonant, but it was emotionally resonant because of the character. It was emotionally resonant because of the idea of sacrifice for a rebellion kind of.
No, but in those moments, like when Gandalf sacrificed himself for the Balrog, that was an emotional moment.
I gotta interject real quick. I'm having I gotta get going soon. I just want to stop by and say hi, but thanks for having me on, Dane. Chief, Jarbo, nice hanging out with you. I'm gonna
thanks, Ed. Everybody subscribe to Pop Counterculture. We're gonna not do this conversation much longer because I don't want to go into the new year like this. So, I just been fucking
I like fighting this movie though. I do. I really do.
I just want to wish everyone. I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. All you guys, everyone in the chat. It's been cool being a part of this community and getting to know everybody. And thanks for having me. Like I said, both on your channel, on and in the audiences, and also check this out. So to 2023, guys. Cheers.
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 See you guys in the new year.
The other issue is that Disney had those dates set in stone, so they gave no room for, this, we have an issue with this. How do we course correct? I mean, the fact that Carrie Fisher died and they didn't alter their release schedule, that alone should have been like, all right, well, what was our plan? How do we fix this?
Well, and so on and so forth. The original was like centered around her. So, the same way that the first one was centered more around Han, the second one was more about Luke, and then the third one would have been Leia's movie. So, the fact
so that's a problem. That's a big problem if she's dead.
And they went into reshoots early 2017. So it wasn't like they didn't have the conversations. And like Kathleen Kennedy has talked about how when they were writing The Force Awakens at Lucasfilm, JJ, Lawrence Kasdan, and her were in a room, and they had all these whiteboards on the wall, and they plotted out all 3 movies. So there's an idea there that they don't have a plan. I keep hearing this. They had a plan. But somehow Johnson came in, and I think because JJ didn't want to do it, because he was offered all 3 films, he turned it down, and he didn't want to do it. So I don't think he cared. Which is why if you look at The Rise of Skywalker, it was such a fuck you to The Last Jedi that it ended up pleasing no one.
Right. Thank you. I was about to ask you because some people are saying, "Oh, it's overall terrible." The Last Jedi. I'm like, how can you?
I'll be honest.
The Last Jedi is terrible. Like The Rise of Skywalker, you feel nothing watching that fucking movie.
I'll say this. I went to The Rise of Skywalker in LA. I went to an early press screening. I flew down there for 24 hours to see it. I loved it. I watched it 3 times in the span of the first couple of weeks of it coming out in theaters. Haven't watched it again. It's been 3 years. I haven't watched it again.
Give it a shot. I
need to watch them all again. But
my experience was that my friend and I watched every Star Wars, the saga movie in the 2 days leading up to the release of Rise of Skywalker. So I had Star Wars in my fucking mind and heart. You know what I mean? And I was like ready to go see the end of this fucking Skywalker thing. And like I knew it was probably not going to, be what the same thing as what The Last Jedi was. I expected that, but goddamn, dude, I remember like 45 minutes into it, I'm just like, I don't care about any of this. Like things are happening that look interesting, but like all the connective tissue, all the characters, it's just like none of it was. Matters.
Yeah. Well, see, so the way that JJ described like the Palpatine connection, which I think is bad. I think Rey if they were going to do a clone situation, like having Rey be Palpatine's granddaughter was dumb. Rey should have been a clone of Palpatine because in like the books or like one of the comics or whatever, one of the actual like canon comics, there was they talked about the Battle of Jakku because the Battle of Jakku was the final battle between the Empire and the Rebellion after the fall of the Death Star. And so there was apparently the Emperor had a cloning facility underneath Jakku. And I'm like, well, what if, and it was an idea posited by a friend of mine. It's like, what if Rey was a clone that was there? Just like, and like the clone was after the whole thing fell, she ended up getting found and like in an incubator or whatever. Right. And they pulled her out, like Junkers pulled her out. And then they just got rid of her, and that they thought they could sell her, right? That's the whole thing with the Junker parents, like the Pulpers. They ended up dead in a ditch, right? So like you could go, oh, she's a clone of Palpatine, but she doesn't know that she's a clone of Palpatine, which is why she's got the Force powers that she does. And it would make sense about like why she was just tossed aside and not knowing who her parents were. It would be a better way of talking about that versus like, because the way JJ had framed it was Palpatine, if you go back and you watch the OT and the prequels and everything, Palpatine is all the way through, like the first 6 films. He's behind the scenes in the Phantom Menace leading up to being the Emperor. And then, of course, he's the Emperor and he dies at the end of Jedi.
Happy New Year, dude.
Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's after that in the Midwest and shit. But you could do something along those lines. Like, okay, that's at least something more compelling, right? Than just like, I am your grandfather. Like, wait, what? Right? Or like the Goonies knife. And dude, like you and me, we're Oregon boys, right? We're Oregon boys. So Goonies is not like it's a cultural thing in Oregon. You don't fuck with Goonies in Oregon.
I have been to the house and the jail cell set and everything, the museum.
Fucking assholes made it so you can't even go there anymore.
Dude,
they blocked it off.
I think I was one of the last people that.
Yeah, I was there a few years ago. I was pissed.
But I think people got tired of people showing up like drunk, and because like I know when we went, we were on some mushrooms, and it was like 3-4 in the morning, going to check it out, and there were people living there. So
yeah, you're all like, you're just like fucking truffle shuffle, motherfucker. But no, I mean like there was elements of it that I thought like they were trying to cram 2 movies into one. The idea of because when JJ first came up with the concept of Finn, he wanted the idea of a stormtrooper defecting and having that be the story. And it's like then when you meet Jaina in Rise of Skywalker and she was like, oh, we've heard of you. You were an inspiration. Like, okay, now that's an arc for Finn. All of a sudden now, because he's been lost, right? He's been lost, but he's been wanting more. Now he finds out that he's actually the spark for the slaves inside of the First Order to rise up. He can become a beacon.
That's definitely something that wasn't done well at all, man.
I know. Fucking don't even get me started. The Fortnite shit. You know about the Fortnite thing, right? The opening scroll of The Rise of Skywalker, it says the Emperor speaks. right? Remember that? And you're like, what the fuck is that? What does that mean? What is that? What is that? I don't get that. That is because a couple of days prior to the movie coming out, they had a broadcast from the Emperor in Fortnite.
Oh.
And that was what that refers to, at least as far as I know. And I just wanted to like swallow a bullet. I'm like, when I found that out, I'm like, no, that's bad. Because it's like, that's the thing with like, with these movies is like, there's good in there. There's elements, there's nuggets. Like I still unequivocally love The Force Awakens. Like I will always love that movie.
That's
it's fun.
Favorite of
it's
the,
fun. Yeah.
rating.
It's just because then it's like you watched like the thing with like the Last Jedi bothers me from a writer's perspective because I'm like, it was someone just going their own way. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like there was this mismanagement above board, you know? And then what really sucks though is like the blowout to, because there was a lot of anger surrounding The Last Jedi Online. I know because I was part of it. But that ended up leading into negatively impacting Solo, I believe. And I never said like don't see Solo. I went to go see it at like the early screening. And like when Darth Maul appeared, dude, I was the only asshole shrieking in the audience.
I was too.
I was like, oh my God, he's back. And my girlfriend's like, would you shut the fuck up? And I'm like, you have no fucking idea.
Solo was like better than I expected it to be, but like it was.
I love Solo.
I was not ready to accept some other dude, but he actually did a pretty good job. Some of the other stuff I didn't love so much, but.
Well, I mean, it's like I prefer Star Wars at this point now. Like looking like Andor for me is like 10 out of 10, top tier. I cannot describe how much I fucking love that show.
Janice, are you serious? That's a fucking stupid thing to say. Like it's just stupid. Like I mean, I've been sitting here letting you say all your negative opinions about it. Like I'm not gonna, but like that's just fucking stupid. Why would you say that? What?
Yeah, that's not right. That's not right.
Like I get you're having your venting session in my chat, but that's a little silly.
Yeah, I mean, look, dude, there's certain like topics like I may not like there's people say, oh, the wrong Tico sister died because she wasn't the hot one. You know what I mean? Like the hot one died, and I was like, oh, come on, guys, then like all the
thing. Look, Matt, that's the problem with all of this anti-fan shit. It's why I fucking deal with it, man, because there are things that we can't even really have a fucking nuanced conversation about online anymore.
Yeah.
Because or at all because of the fact like I can't openly just say in mixed company that like I don't think Captain Marvel's a very great MCU film because of all the the connotations that come along with that online.
Yeah. Why do you hate women, Dane?
Yeah. I don't think that's fair, but it's also not irrational to assume that based on a lot of the shit I've seen about it.
No, I agree. Like I didn't care for Captain Marvel that much. I found it to be the most boring MCU film I've seen so far, but I also haven't seen Eternals. I just like Eternals does not interest me. Like just not one bit interest me. And I need to see it, but I just haven't brought myself to it. But Captain Marvel, I don't hate. Like I like Brie Larson in the role. I'm looking forward to seeing what Nia DaCosta does. I love Teyana Paris in WandaVision. As Monica Rambeau, Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel, I like as well. I mean, like, fuck yeah, bring that shit on. Like, cool.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's just
I'm willing to give it any of it a chance. It's just these essentialist narratives that come out about these things, where then it becomes like, oh, it's feminist and therefore, and it's gonna bomb, but then it doesn't bomb. It actually makes $1 billion, and then that's because of this. And it's like, dude, it just has gotten so fucking beyond the pale at this point that. I'd like to be able to have disagreements with people about things, but it have nothing to do with you not even have to kind of, we have to kind of like we've done it tonight. We've had to say, well, it's not because of this or whatever, because we know that there's going to be some that assume unless we clarify, we give that disclaimer. It's not because of the sexism stuff like people say, and that fucking sucks that we even have to talk like that.
Yeah, you're like, I don't hate Rey because she's a woman. She's just a poorly written character. But I actually keep getting yelled at because I have maintained that Rey was not a Mary Sue.
All right. Well, I gotta Janice, you're in my chat a lot, so I hate that I have to, focus on you like this, but you're giving me a good example of something that I like to, it's kind of one of the first things I really started thinking about whenever I started addressing these narratives. And I know you're not like a chud. I see you here pretty often, but this weird thing that people do where they seem to just assume to know the reason for something. So like the forced diversity thing, right? Like, oh, they're just created that character just to blah, blah, blah. Well, how do you know it's just to do that? And you become convinced that to me, based on this, I would kind of assume that you're the one making the racial, presumptions. Because when was it said that Rose was a character created to replace Rey as Finn's love interest, and not just like, and even if that was the case, why does it have to do like? There's so many weird fucking assumptions happening in this that I don't know, man. I don't know.
Organically, Finn and Poe felt like it was.
Yeah, that's what I thought
something
too. Why didn't they do that moment when he's like, "Oh, that jacket looks good on you. Let me."
I always felt that like the push for that ship was really lame. I thought that was dumb. It was like
I wasn't really for it, but I mean, like it is kind of they have good chemistry is the thing.
No, they did. Oscar Isaac really shined in The Last Jedi. You know.
That was the one thing I would champion from Rise of Skywalker.
But I mean, it's just weird to jump to an assumption about race, and then Rian Johnson's racist, and like that's the weird stuff about it. Like, I'm not saying your opinion's not good on that, on like how the movie felt. Anyway,
no, I mean, like I'll tell you this though, because I know I got to dip out in a minute. I know you want to wind this thing down. I've said this for 5 years consistently. I do not like the fact that I do not like that movie. A couple of key narrative changes I think would have made it better. I think there was rules and conventions in the franchise storytelling side of things that were ignored for no other purpose than just to be a disruptor, if you will, to quote Glass Onion, and everything. And it's just like the Canto Bite stuff. Because let me tell you guys how I would have written it if I would have done it right. So you completely get rid of Canto Bite, and how you do it is like this: is where was Rose Tico when we first met her? What was she doing?
Guarding the escape pods.
She was tasing motherfuckers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every time her and Finn were talking about like their whole plan to go find the safecracker and everything else, they were I think they were down in that room, right? They were down in the room where they first met. So it kind of, makes you think, okay, there's some kind of brig down there. There's some kind of holding cell down there where other people who had been escaping, she would have been tasing and then dragging in there and detaining, right? So it's like, while they're talking about going and trying to find the safecracker or trying to go and find whatever to shut off this, what was it? The tracking device, whatever it was called. I forget.
Yeah.
While they're talking, all of a sudden you can recreate the exact same scene from Canto Bite when they're in the jail cell when they meet DJ, and he just picks the lock and he's like, "Hey, I can get you over there, but here's the deal. I'll get you guys there, and then I'm gone. That's the deal, right?" Because he's like a conniver. Like, all right. So then they go over there, and they do it. They just kind of because they just they dip out with like a cloaking device, whatever. We've never seen cloaking in Star Wars. They've mentioned it one time in Empire Strikes Back, but we never see it. And but anyway, they get over there, and then you find out he does a double cross, but he's actually the double agent. He's the one that's been working, because what that would do.
That's not what happened though.
But that's what I.
Not a double agent who had been working.
No,
for
but
them.
that's how I would have written it. That's how I would have written it, and I'll tell you why. Because go back to the original trilogy. All right, with at least A New Hope and Jedi, it's always like, oh, how many several Bothans died to get us these plans. All these people died to get us these Death Star plans. We've had people working inside the Empire for all this time. For me, it would have been a kind of interesting turn of events to now have the to have the First Order send somebody into the Resistance and have that be the mole. Because that's they haven't done that yet. They haven't shown that.
There's not some ways that things could have been done differently. That might have been better, but I don't know. It starts to feel fan fictiony. A lot of the arguments against it in a lot of ways.
Well, a lot of the way.
Yours is probably the best versions of things. Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying as being like maybe being good, but like, at least it's not like, well, Luke should have been pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky level shit, which is just.
I never liked that. I never liked the OP side of that shit. What
did somebody say to you, Charles, that Luke was arrogant because he retired on that island?
Oh my God! Yeah,
was that you?
It was the definition of arrogance. Luke hiding on an island, and I was like, that is not the definition of arrogance.
Not what that word means at all. Like, in fact, it's like him not believing in himself or the Force or basically any of the shit. And like, you may. People have a problem with that, and it's like, dude, did you watch the trilogy, the original trilogy? You really pay attention to it since you were an adult, kind of thing. Because I get if you're a kid and you think that the hero just becomes the hero and that's it. He struggled with, you know, his morality, how he wanted to go about things.
Well,
Then at the end, he won by nonviolence. He won by not killing Vader. You know, that was the triumphant hero moment. And he did nonviolence in The Last Jedi. So, I mean, like, you may not like how it played out, but thematically, it all makes sense to me.
But using that mentality, if you were to just reintroduce the prequels today, and when Obi-Wan, after Qui-Gon dies, when Obi-Wan's like, I don't want, you know, I'm not ready to train this kid. People will be like, well, that's not what Obi-Wan would do. The gatekeepership of these characters, and it just, you know, let the stories play out. Like
that's and that's, you know, you're right, Janice. I know that you don't mean it in like you admit that might be in your head kind of thing. I know, but like, yeah, that could have been a thing, because when I watched the first or Force Awakens and Last Jedi recently, I thought, man, he's just missing from the movie for a good chunk of Force Awakens, you know. And I know that I think I remember that he was supposed to die originally.
Only like one scene. Yeah.
So I understand, like, to that degree, but I mean, that's kind of proves the point. Why is nobody so fixated on that fact? Everybody's like, well, Force Awakens great. And it's like, well, what about this main character who's just disappears? And it's very obviously because they rewrote his part late in the game, and they didn't really restructure, you know, they just said, well, he'll just come back, and we don't explain how he didn't die, really. It's just like a throwaway line. Like, these types of things exist in all of these movies. Is why
are you talking about Poe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
These types of inconsistencies, these types of things that if you fixate on them and go, wait a second, then it exists in every single one of the movies.
Well, yeah, and there's always these they introduced something new about Jedi powers in this movie. Well, congratulations, they've introduced something new about Jedi powers in every single Star Wars movie. So
that's the perfect example of, like, if you're gonna be hypercritical, I get it, that's fine, do that. But, like, it just seems weird that there's this, you know, blind spot with every other movie. But
right.
Well, okay, so again, like, for me on the whole Force exhaustion thing, I think it's like, I understand it. I understand why they did it like that. But there's also another thing. I think, like, Luke had talked about this one in some story or whatever, or maybe Mark Hamill somebody described it in the way that the Force operates is that it's like a door, right? It's like a doorway. And some people have the doors open more than others, right? And, like, so Luke, as being a powerful Force user, reopens himself to the Force. He would probably get a flood of it, which is why he was able to do what he did for transferring himself. But there's actually, I think they cut a scene, and I don't know if this is. I saw this when I saw the movie for the first time in theaters, when he's sitting on the rock and he's looking out, and obviously it's meant to, you know, mimic and juxtapose A New Hope. If you look, there's actually a shot where you can see that he's holding his side, right? If you look, he's actually, like, his arm is kind of up and he's holding his side. It's very brief, but the way the body is positioned, I'm like watching it going, like, is he injured? Is he? Because then he just dies, and you're like, but why'd he die? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Because, like, again, there's been no explanation. There needs to be an explanation. I don't give a shit if it's a one-line of dialogue. Yes, it does. For franchise writing conventions, yes, there does. In the same way
that there was an explanation why Yoda died?
Or Obi-Wan.
Or Obi-Wan
just disappeared.
He disappeared and became a ghost. Yes, so Obi-Wan's death looked like it was a choice to die in that moment in time. And obviously... And it was obviously, but then he chose to become a Force ghost literally minutes later. All right, like literally minutes later.
Power of mystery. That's literally like it's written as a fucking thing.
Yes, but you need to
be like what you need it to be when you need it to be it, and you don't need to explain all of it because it's Force.
I don't know. I still think they should have done something about, because it's so confusing to the audience, because if they're trying to mimic and run the juxtaposition between Obi-Wan and Luke, and I understand that, I do get it, right? I'm not saying I'm a fan, but I understand it.
They take place at different points of the story too. When Luke dies, it's at the end of The Last Jedi. When Obi-Wan dies, it's like at the peak of the second act.
Yeah,
like you have time to fill it up a little bit.
Yeah, you can say some stuff there, right? Because obviously Obi-Wan's death was a motivating factor for it was a hero's journey, right? And we've seen this before. It's a hero's journey. It's meant to be like that. Like, it's like he died in a moment that was meant to motivate the heroes. I had mentioned Gandalf dying fighting the Balrog. That was meant to motivate the heroes. Obi-Wan dying was meant to motivate Luke. Luke dying on a fucking rock didn't motivate anybody. Because like,
did you not watch the movie after that?
Oh no, I did. Oh no, I did. They talked about the legend of it. Yeah, they're talking about the
rebellion.
How the fuck would anybody know?
Because they told that's what a fucking legend is, man.
But how would they know that that's actually what happened if no one is around to watch him die?
Because they
no one they didn't. They watched them fade away from fighting. It's a see you around, kid, and he winks and he yeets himself out of there, and they don't know what happens.
It can take like 2 seconds to think that, well, maybe they went and checked on the planet. Oh, look, he's dead, or he's not here. Whatever. Like, I mean, it's not.
Well, they didn't find his metal hand
on the New Order side too. Somebody could have just been like, "Yo, I just saw the weirdest shit ever."
That might have that would have been something. I always thought it was more about that. Like they didn't know he was dead, but they made the connection via the story because they would have seen it happen like that.
It's just, it seems like there's as soon as a lot of people encounter some, not immediately obvious thing with this movie, whereas other movies do it too.
But I think the movie had a bit of a misdirect though. The movie had a bit of a the movie established how to make that scene work. It did. It previously established it. So when you have the situations where Kylo and Rey are talking to one another and they're doing the Force connection. Right. So like the first time they talk, the second time it's pouring down on Octu. And then when it ends, Kylo looks at his hands and he's like, oh, there's water on my hands. So like, okay, obviously there's some kind of like physical realm being formed around them. Then they get to the third time about it and they're about ready to touch and they're going to fuck. Right. But, like they're getting ready to touch and like, and then
Dad opens the door.
Yeah, why do you get away from my daughter? Right. Or whatever.
I gotta address Janice one more time real quick because I mean it's one of my favorite scenes. Look.
Brought that up.
I mean, hey, you're the one that got me thinking about it. Don't give me all the credit because like, like based on context in the original trilogy, I think that Luke got closer to the dark side than we probably assumed. All right.
Sorry, because like I'm just more or less saying at that point they established that you can have. The force.
I'm not going to make an argument that Last Jedi couldn't have been done better. Like, I mean,
I'm just saying. If he was injured, like he would have been injured when they were fighting, and Kylo went through him with the lightsaber, and that could have been like at the moment when there was a physical transference, and that would have at least established like why he would have suffered a mortal injury that would at that point caused him to die. That would have just made more sense. I think they shot it. I do think they shot it.
Maybe, probably.
But
I don't know what you already said. The thing that also explains it, which is that he had cut himself off from the Force. They made sure to say that. So, like, just even hooking back into it, so to speak, and then using whatever crazy level of power. Which that's, your criticism isn't a big deal, but the people that just undermine what he actually did and act like it was nothing, that pisses me off.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was a good scene. I liked it when he had that little moment with Carrie. But he ignored C-3PO. So like, what the F, right? Like, come on.
And after Han died, fucking Leia walked right past Chewie.
And JJ has apologized for that on multiple occasions. He realized he fucked up. So it's like, you can at least have a director go, yeah, that was a bad call on my part. But by that point, it was by that point, the way that they had viewed it was that she had kind of become the central part of the story. And that was like the audience expressing the sadness through her eyes.
It doesn't matter.
No. Oh, no. Chewie absolutely matters. Like, dude, I fucking teared up when he got his medal in Rise of Skywalker. I know it was dumb. I know it was fucking fan service. I know all those things. I don't care.
No,
he finally got his fucking
medal. Fan service isn't inherently a bad thing. Some people act like it is, but like,
no,
I'm actually glad we talked about this because I realized I'm able to kind of articulate what my issue with being defensive is about it. It's not that people don't like it. It's not that they don't like that I don't like it. It's that if we're going to talk about, flaws in writing and structure and so on with Star Wars movies, let's talk about all of them. But everybody likes to have, them be all these sacred cows. And it's like, that's why I tend to feel like I want to go, wait, okay, so I'll give you that point on The Last Jedi, but what about this other one that does?
How did Marty meet Doc in Back to the Future?
That's always a good question, but I do also feel that we run the risk of whataboutism in regards to those conversations. And so
convention where like
Marty,
like North American Fanboy Love Association.
Marty, I need you to tug my penis. Just God damn. All right, guys, I'm actually 4 minutes late for my own stream, so I'm gonna get yelled at by my audience. But no, I wanted to have this conversation. Dan, we don't talk enough, man. I thought you were mad at me for like the longest time.
No, I'm not able to, come on your streams at night very often anymore. But like, we're still cool, man. I actually won't hold you with it, but I hold you, late with it. But I fucking got in an argument with some dude defending the fact that you're not a Nazi. And he,
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, that guy really believed it.
Taking screenshots of me because I was like, dude, I used to say shitty things, and you expect me, you just hold things, And he's like, oh, well, he said the N-word just one time, and I'm like, yeah, I know about that. He's also apologized and fucking expressed that he shouldn't have done that. Say it one time, just that I've heard. Yeah. That like
I know. Oh no, it hit a decade. It hit a decade like 2 days ago, right? Like a decade from when I did the polar bear video, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, no, that was stupid. Like, you don't need to tell me twice. I know.
Come up, you have fucking expressed like, God damn, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Not okay. And it's like, that's what growth is, man. You can't fucking hold people to, it's a good thing. A lot of shit I used to say isn't on the internet is all.
You didn't film it with an iPad.
Have a good stream, man.
All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Happy New Year.
Nice meeting you.